Human history is filled with kingdoms buried underground, empires rising from their ashes, and forgotten languages. Yet none has occupied our minds quite like Atlantis. It is not merely a lost city, it is the capital of human imagination. Close your eyes and forget the world of today, its technology, its borders, for a moment. Rewind time thousands of years. Imagine a civilization shining in the middle of the ocean, beyond all boundaries, long before the pyramids of Egypt were built, before Rome was even an idea. This is the place where gods and humans allegedly walk the earth together. This story was bequeathed to us not from a fairy tale book, but from one of ancient Greece's greatest philosophers, Plato. About 2,400 years ago, in his works, he whispered this legend to us. According to him, this was a true history learned by his ancestor's friend, the Athenian statesman Solon, during a journey to Egypt. The old Egyptian priest looked at Solon and said, "You Greeks are always children. You have no knowledge of antiquity, no knowledge of that great age before the floods." And then they told him of an island continent situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we know today as the Strait of Gibraltar, larger than Libya and Asia combined. That place was the kingdom of the sea god Poseidon, the pinnacle of wealth and power, Atlantis. To visualize Atlantis, you must forget today's gray concrete piles, for this place was a flawless dance of nature and engineering. According to the accounts, the city was designed with mathematical precision. It consisted of concentric rings of water and land surrounding the sacred central island. It was as if a god had thrown a giant stone into the ocean, and the rippling waves had turned to stone to become the walls protecting the city. The center was connected to the mainland by massive bridges and canals. These canals were so wide and deep that even the largest ships of the era could glide from the ocean right into the busiest heart of the city, docking at the palace gates. The harbors were filled with the voices of merchants from all over the world, the scent of spices mingling in the air, and the colors of exotic fabrics. This was the trade center of the world. The architecture of the city possessed an aesthetic that took one's breath away. Buildings were constructed with black, white, and red stones quarried from the island itself. This riot of colors gave the city a natural yet majestic aura. But the true secret of Atlantis lay in a legendary metal whose nature we still cannot fully decipher today. Orichalcum. Considered second only to gold in value, this red metal, glowing like fire, coated the city's outermost walls. Legend has it that when the sun rose, the walls of Atlantis would shine as if on fire, and sailors miles away could find their way through the mist by this crimson glow. At the very top of the city stood the Temple of Poseidon. The interior of the temple was covered in ivory, pure gold, and orichalcum. When you looked up at the ceiling, you didn't see wood, but the shimmer of precious stones that rivaled the sky. Here, the 10 kings of Atlantis would gather periodically, sacrifice sacred bulls, and discuss the laws. This period was the Golden Age of Atlantis. The soil was so fertile that it yielded 2 harvests a year. The mountains and forests were home to all kinds of wild animals, including elephants. Both hot and cold springs gushed from the earth, distributing healing to the people. In those times, the people were virtuous. Wealth had not spoiled them. They preserved the wisdom coming from their divine lineage, maintaining a deep respect for nature, the laws, and each other. Gold and silver were not tools of greed for them, but merely ornaments of life. Atlantis was the very definition of heaven on earth. Order, peace, and magnificence were intertwined. However, history has taught us one thing repeatedly: power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. As centuries flowed by and generations changed, the divine blood in the veins of the Atlanteans mixed with the blood of mortal men and became increasingly diluted. That ancient virtue began to be replaced by the darkest and most dangerous flaws of human nature: greed, insatiable ambition, and hubris. The wealth they possessed was no longer enough. They wanted more, always more. The glitter of Orichalcum had blinded them. Living in peace with their neighbors and trading was no longer satisfying. They wanted to rule them, to dominate them. And so the armies of Atlantis began to move. This massive fleet entered the Mediterranean like a nightmare. They invaded northern Africa as far as Egypt and Europe deep into Italy. There was almost no power capable of standing against them. They were chaining the world, enslaving free peoples. Except for one city, Athens. According to Plato's story, the primitive but brave Athenians stood up for their freedom. Even though their allies abandoned them, they resisted the colossal power of Atlantis, and incredibly, they managed to defeat this imperial force. This was the first major blow to their pride. But the real punishment awaiting Atlantis would not come from human hands. Zeus, the ruler of the skies, watched from Mount Olympus as these once virtuous people turned into tyrants. He saw their greed and the terror they spread. He decided to punish them, to cleanse the earth of them. Plato summarizes that moment with one of history's most terrifying sentences. In a single day and night of misfortune, first the ground shook. A roar coming from the depths of the earth began to shake Atlantis' magnificent temples, its sky-reaching towers, and its orichalcum-covered walls, as if they were made of paper. The ground split open, palaces were buried into deep fissures. The screams of the people were lost amidst the noise of the earth. There was nowhere to run. And then came the water. Poseidon had turned his back on the city he built. The ocean rose like a colossal wall, reaching up to the sky, and crashed down upon the island. Those flawless water canals, those magnificent harbors, the markets full of riches remained under salt water in seconds. Atlantis, along with all its glory, thousands of years of accumulated knowledge, and all its people, sank to the bottom of the sea. Neither a ruin, nor a pillar, nor a trace remained behind. In a single night, a vast civilization was erased from history as if it had never existed. So what are we looking at today? Was Atlantis just a philosophical moral lesson invented by Plato? Or is there a reality waiting for us somewhere on the dark ocean floor? For centuries, adventurers and scientists have chased this question. Some said it was the island of Santorini in the Aegean Sea, destroyed by the Thera volcano. Others turned their eyes much further away, beneath the glaciers of Antarctica, wondering if ruins lie beneath the ice. In recent years, satellite images pointed to the Eye of the Sahara in Mauritania, a structure of concentric rings that bears an eerie resemblance to Plato's descriptions. Could it be that when the ocean receded, Atlantis didn't sink, but was left stranded in the middle of the desert? We still do not know the answer. Perhaps the reason we cannot find Atlantis is that we are looking in the wrong place. Perhaps Atlantis is not a coordinate, but a fear within the human subconscious. Atlantis is our fear of loss. It is a reminder that even if we rise to the highest point, even if we reach the peak of civilization, we are helpless against the power of nature, and we can lose everything in a single night. Today, when we look into the depths of the ocean, we see our own reflection. We see our hubris and our fragility. Atlantis might be sleeping somewhere there, amongst the moss and coral, or perhaps it will continue to live only in our dreams, never to wake again. However, one thing is certain: as long as humanity exists, we will never cease to dream of that perfect city lost on the horizon. The legend, just like the waves of the ocean, will continue to crash upon our shores.